we have some set costs that we know, the stipends that are being paid to the teachers, but consumable materials are kind of the question right now. But any revenue that's generated above that, we do expect to see some. Will be shared in a 60-40 share with the IU, with the district receiving 60% and the IU receiving 40%. And we're setting up a deferred revenue account so that we can start to build and maybe purchase more materials that can be used in future years. But we're anticipating it's going to be very successful. It was very well received when it was hosted at the IU, so we're expecting that those 125 spots per grade level will fill up quickly. And we're hoping that by the 23rd, weather will be cooperative and we'll have a great morning of STEAM activities. So I'll take any questions if you have them.
So it's open to any children in Lexington?
We're going to open it to Pennridge students. And then if there are still spots that are open, then we have the option of extending that and opening it up further. But we're expecting that since it's first come, first served, that Pennridge students will have the first priority.
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you. This has been a large undertaking for you, working with Dr. Sides and some of the Pennridge employees. It's going to be a really wonderful morning. And I know, I mean, you were trying to be a little humble. The dream really is multiple sessions in the fall and in the spring, and hopefully multiple classrooms per grade level. This has been a very popular event across the district. So we're going to try to do it really well here. The IU did give us their curriculum. We, of course, improved upon it. And are going to do a version of theirs, but with our take on it in terms of what our classroom teachers have as expertise. We have 6 amazing instructors who are teachers in those grade levels who are going to lead this, really hands-on things. So we expect with approval of this contract that we get the advertising out there, and I think there'll be quite a buzz for that March 4th debut and such. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we've asked the principals to include it in their newsletter that will go out on March 1st. Then Mr. Ferry will also share that information. We wanted to get the information out with some lag time before registration actually opens so that people have fair access to registration. So if you didn't check your phone today and all the spots are filled up, we don't want anybody to be locked out. Thank you.
Thank you, June. Okay, that's it for the contracts for this month, letters A through L. So is any other questions?
Mr. Galbert.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the Palace contract. I just have a question on the costs. As I'm looking through this, there's a cost for the dinner and the buffet, the ice cream station, and the soda. $900 for lighting package and $41.72 per hour per officer for Allentown Police. Do we have any fix on what that's going to look like, or is it, are they estimating 3 officers for 5 hours, or is there any estimate on what that looks like?
I can tell you that last year we used 2 police officers, 10 hours total.
Okay.
Cost was $417 for the officers.
And the only other question I have is there's a 20% gratuity that's on the entire bill, or is that only on the food services provided?
That's on the food services provided. It is not on the officers.
Or the lighting?
Or the
Yeah,
correct. It's on the food, ice cream, soda.
Okay.
Select.
Thank you.
Yep. And it looks like last year our total was just under $24,000.
Any other questions? Is everyone comfortable with these moving forward to the board meeting? Yeah. Okay. So the next thing on the agenda is the Bucks County Intermediate's 2019-2020 programs and services and instructional materials and research budget. So there's no increase in this year's contribution by withholding due to changes that were made by PDE. And any increases were offset by entrepreneurial efforts. And the per student cost is still the same at $4.55. And so the only way that a district's portion increased or decreased is based on whether or not your number of students increased or decreased, because the per student amount is the same.
Correct.
So, anything else you want to add?
Just a little, some numbers for that budget. The budget's up 1.27%, or $22,570. The total budget is $1,798,903 for the program and services budget. Pennridge's share will reduce by $390, and our total cost will be $81,659, which is made up of the two portions that you just talked about.
Any questions or comments from board members? Everybody comfortable with this as well?
I just want to add one thing about this contract. I know that you all know how invaluable the IU is to us in terms of providing services both here at Pennridge, but also at the intermediate unit. I did a little tallying up with all of the normal things that happen. So these aren't their special events in terms of professional development or things that we ask them to do for us. We've already asked them for next year for a couple of things to put on their list of things that would fall under this. But we have 40 to 50 people who are there on a monthly basis for regular professional development in about 7 different groupings of people. And so we have a foreign language piece there, we have business managers meet there, we have superintendents, we have assistant superintendents, we have English teachers. And so there are a large number of groups that I'm sure we realize the monthly impact that they have. So thank you for your consideration of this budget.
Dr. Bolton, just to mention another thing that in the business services that the IU just started in the last year or so, is they've started having meetings for our assistant business managers or director of finance positions, and they've also started training meetings for our payroll folks in our districts, which is all very important and very helpful since there's constantly changes in payroll and constantly changes in our requirements for PSERS, the retirement system, so that they're a very big help in that way.
And next up is the 2019-2020 bids and RFPs.
Okay, so what we're looking for here is the board's approval to start this process for the 1920 year. And the list is very similar to the previous years. We're looking to have approval to start our process to go out for bids and RFPs for our student planners, our music instruments and other equipment, our art supplies, our technology education equipment and supplies, our transportation supplies and equipment, our transportation services if needed, if it's determined we need to outsource anything, printing and binding services, and facility supplies and services. These will all come back to the board after they're out to bid for review and approval, and that is usually in June. That information comes back to you. But some things that we normally bid out of the transportation department are brake parts, engine and transmission parts, vehicle batteries. We also then out of Kelly's department, HVAC filters, lamps and ballasts, maintenance and transportation uniforms. We're also looking at boiler cleaning, pest control, emergency generator, PM, and just those type of things are what we're looking at. So just to give you some examples of what we'll be doing.
Any questions or comments from board members on these? Is everybody comfortable moving these forward to the board meeting? And the next thing on the agenda is the RFP for the Project Design, Development, and Construction Administration.
I just want to give a little introduction to this. The last RFP for these services that were done in Pennridge was in 2012. And so there has been 6-7 school years since this information has gone out. I just don't want this to read that we are unhappy with the current services or that there's something wrong with the current services. Sometimes when you're looking for RFPs, the public perception is that, oh my, so there must be something wrong, you're trying to replace someone. I just think that it is good practice that on a regular basis we are reviewing the contracts for the services that are being provided to us. This is a huge service that touches so many pieces of the district that frankly from a budget standpoint is a large amount of dollars in terms of what the budget that you'll approve come the end of the school year. And so I think it's important for us to regularly be looking at organizations and groups that fit this to kind of make sure that we're getting the best services for the best price for the district. And so that is why I asked if we could put together an RFP for these. So Mr. Dahlgren or Mr. Harper, please.
Okay, so what we have in front of you is the RFP document. And what we're looking for is the services for professional engineering, professional design and development of the projects and the capital projects listing, the multiple year plan for capital projects. Also, all project construction administration services, so basically taking the project and bidding it and then seeing the project through to its entirety. And then we're also looking for, as a part of this, the immediate response to needs for engineering or any other type of construction services within the district. So if we have a problem, we get on the phone and we have someone available, at the drop of a hat to us, that there is someone always assigned to Pennridge School District and available to meet our needs. Of course, the biggest part of this is the capital project administration and the administration of those summer projects. And developing those projects from start to finish. So those are the services that this RFP requests. Am I missing anything?
No, I think it's pretty good.
Okay. So if there's any questions that you have, Kelly and I'll try to answer them.
Can you give the board a sense for the timeline that would happen if we were to approve this RFP, and then what does that look like over the next several months?
Sure.
Please.
Okay, so if the board approves the RFP tonight, we will advertise tomorrow. Send an advertisement to the paper tomorrow to be put in as soon as possible. We will get the RFPs out into the hands of the companies who requested. And we will ask for responses to the RFP back by March 26th, so we're giving them a month to respond. We're going to go through an internal process. Kelly and I, Dr. Bolton, will go through a process of going through all that information and hopefully coming up with a select few companies to bring in front of the facilities committee to provide an interview with the facilities committee and so forth. So we would look for that around our April meeting. And then we would look for approval of the firm at the May 13th meeting. And then that firm would take over beginning in July. But the firm will not take over current projects that are being bid. Okay? Those projects will stay with the current company, Dewey, through their entirety. So we thought that was important to continue those projects with the same company that started them. Then, if a new firm is brought in, that new firm will have a lot of ramping up time that they'll need to go through. And they'll need to do that over the summer. They'll need to be in our buildings, surveying our buildings and so forth. And they'll need to concentrate on that throughout the summer while the current firm is maintaining the current project.
Any questions or comments from board members?
Question and a comment. Do you have any feel for how many firms you might get to respond to this RFP?
I can only speak to that to say, from what I've seen historically here, we had at least a dozen. But when I looked at that, it was a lot of architectural firms. I don't know that that necessarily makes sense from the standpoint of what we're asking them to do. But I would expect no less than a half a dozen. There could be as many as 18. It's a big project. There's a good dollar amount, and we're just looking for the best services for the dollar. So I would say 6 to 12 minimum.
May I clarify one thing, Mr. Harper? The RFP does not preclude a primarily architectural firm from applying. They would just need to have relationships with other subcontractors that they have relationships with that would provide some of the other services that are mentioned in the RFP. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct. Primarily it's engineering, but if they have those relationships, that wouldn't preclude them from bidding on the project.
Thank you.
The other part of my comment really has to do with the project, the renovations that went on at the vocational technical school several years ago. That was complicated, as it often is, by the fact that it was 3 separate school districts that were interested in it, with 3 separate cultures and different experiences with these types of firms. There was an extensive interview process, which seemed to pick the best firm, and we had lots of problems. And I don't think any of the people who served on the board at the time, including those who were proponents of that firm because they had used them in their own district, would go back and rehire that firm. So to me, that is a cautionary tale, because it was something that certainly all the right things were in place to try to ferret that out. In the end, it didn't work out as well as we had hoped.
Any other questions or comments? Is everyone comfortable with moving this forward to the board meeting as well? Okay, the next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for March 12th, 2019, and we're back to public comment. Are there any comments?
Super Long, West Rock Hill Township. I don't know what the project is that we're getting the engineering firm for, so I'm a little bit lost there. But, the thing that brought me up to the microphone, the prom contract, I believe it's $5 for the ice cream station and $5 for a drink station, if I remember correctly. I'm going to highlight just one of them. Let's take the $5 for an ice cream station times 1.2. So that makes it a $6 ice cream station, because you're going to have to pay your gratuity on that. And so you've got $6 per person. And you've got approximately 550 kids who attend each year. So that's $3,300 that you're going to pay for an ice cream station. Now, if you have 3 hours, then you're going to have 550 kids divided by 3, which means 183 people per hour need to be able to be waited on at that ice cream station. That's about 20 seconds or 30 seconds per prom attendee. Otherwise, you're actually not only paying $6 per head, if you count the actual number of people who will be able to enjoy that ice cream station, it's even higher than that, because you're not going to wait on 183 people per hour. And then times 2 for your drink stand. I think it would be wiser for the students to each get, let's say, a little ticket, one for the ice cream stand, one for the drink stand. If they use it, then the vendor can charge the $5 plus the gratuity. If they don't use it, then the vendor does not get to charge. Otherwise, the vendor is going to make $6,600 and probably serve half of the number of people, if that many, because there's no physical way to serve 183 people per hour ice cream. I just don't think it's going to happen. And I think it's a way for the vendor to overcharge our kids.
Thank you. Any other comments?
So, Mrs. Froman, I just want to clarify the RFP. The RFP is not for one particular project.
Okay.
The RFP is for an engineering firm or a like firm to manage all of those projects.
Okay, that's what I
over a
thought
certain
until the
period
way
of
it was
time.
worded. All of a sudden, it sounded like it was a project. And
Well, we needed to make sure we clarify what would happen for the summer, because the handoff would be in July, and July is a very busy time for the
Okay.
firm that we're talking about around schools, because that's when they're doing most of the projects.
All right, thank you very much.
So I just wanted to ask, as far as the prom is concerned, are the students choosing, the students are choosing all of these services and what they want, right? Are they want the ice cream and they're paying for it? So it's not, it's,
Correct.
okay.
I just think they need to do the math.
I hear what you're saying.
I did the same thing at my wedding. I did the same thing at my wedding.
Yeah,
They only paid for the drinks they served.
exactly.
Okay, the next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for March 12th, and I'm going to adjourn and we'll move into finance.
So